a Welsh Rabbit with a poached egg on top, not too runny, and bacon, scones, butter, cream, jam, not strawberry.
Raspberry.
Have a pot of lapsang, please, and some sausages.
And some sausages.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at the breakfast order from the Phantom Thread, thanks to an idea from fellow YouTuber Lindsay Daly. Now this breakfast requires a few things to be prepared a few days in advance, so let's start with jam. Raspberry, not strawberry. Last thing I'd want to do in the world is piss off Daniel Day-Lewis. We're simply measuring out 2 cups each sugar and mashed up raspberries that we're going to place into a small saucepan, mix them all together, and apply medium heat. You could add a little bit of cinnamon or lemon zest, but just raspberries and sugar is going to make a damn fine jam. Simmer gently for 5 to 10 minutes, scrape the foam off the top. Once you have discontinued the heat, let cool a bit and pour into a mason jar. Normally I'd show you how to properly can this, but since there's so little of it, I'm just going to fridge it and let it firm up. It should last in the fridge for about 3 weeks. Now to take a page out of my man Brad Leone's book and make some cultured butter. We are simply combining 3.5 cups of heavy cream with a few tablespoons of yogurt, which is going to act as our active live culture. You could also use kefir if you have it on hand. It's a little bit easier to mix. Either way, we're covering it with 4 layers of cheesecloth, securing with a rubber band or zip tie, and letting sit for 48 to 96 hours at room temperature, after which time we end up with a thick, spreadable creme fraiche that we are going to turn into butter. If you want to skip the culturing part, you can just do this with heavy cream. Just place it into the bowl of a stand mixer with the whisk attachment and whisk until it goes well beyond the whipped cream stage and separates into butter and buttermilk, like so. An important side note, do not use ultra-pasteurized heavy cream for either of these processes. Once you've got butter, strain it through a few layers of cheesecloth, reserve the liquid. This is just buttermilk, and it's the best buttermilk you're ever going to get your hands on. Hang on to this because we're going to be using it later to make scones. For now, we need to wash our butter. This is an important step to keep it from spoiling in the fridge. We're going to massage it into ice water up to 6 times until the water runs relatively clear. Then we can salt it using fine sea salt or table salt if desired. Normally I'm against this, but this is eaten butter, so I want to have a little bit of seasoning in there. And there you go, you just did the impossible and made butter in your own home. We're going to put this to a few good applications momentarily. Next up, clotted cream, which first we got to get the heavy cream out of the jug here. Give it a nice shake so you can get all that extra milk fat. Make sure you're using non-ultra pasteurized cream. Place in a shallow baking dish and place in a 180-degree Fahrenheit oven for 12 whole hours. Best to do this in an electric or toaster oven if possible. If you do this in a gas oven, just be extra careful and make sure that your apartment doesn't smell like gas like mine did. Once this cools down a bit, we're going to wrap it in plastic wrap and very carefully place it in the fridge for an additional 12 hours. Just one more step to go here. We need to drain off the liquidous parts of the mixture, and then we are left with clotted cream. One of life's very, very few true unabashed pleasures. You can leave the brown bits on top separate if you like, but I like to mix it all up into a creamy paste. Use caution when making this, you will get addicted to it, and it is hilariously unhealthy. Now, onto the business of making scones. Into a food processor, we are combining 10 ounces of flour with 4 teaspoons of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, or 1 teaspoon of table salt, and 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Pulse just a few times to combine before adding 6 tablespoons or about 3 ounces of our recently cultured butter. Process this together for 10 to 15 seconds with your chin rested atop the feed tube to sort of keep an eye on things. There we go. Pour this crumbly, sandy mixture into a mixing bowl and measure out 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk, into which we are going to beat a single egg. Pour this into a well you've dug in the middle of your flour mixture and gently fold together. And just as it becomes a cohesive, shaggy mass, we're going to turn it out onto a generously floured worktop where we are going to gently knead the dough, taking care not to overmix because these are just kind of like the British version of our biscuits. Too much kneading leads to gluten development, which leads to tough, tiny, terrible scones. We're going to roll this out to about a 1/2 inch thickness. I'd go thicker if you want to be more movie accurate, but either way we are placing them on a parchment lined baking sheet and brushing them with our buttermilk. We are then placing these into a 450-degree Fahrenheit oven for 12 to 15 minutes or until gorgeously brown. Now as you can see, mine came out a little dinky, so you might want to roll yours out thicker and make sure that you're using fresh baking powder. Now scones are best eaten while still warm, so we got to work fast in making the rest of this meal. We're going to start making our Welsh Rabbit, which I'm sure I'm not pronouncing correctly, by making a roux into which we're going to pour some stout beer while whisking constantly. We're then going to add just a huge amount of English cheddar. Again, I'm not doing things totally right here. You probably want to double the amount of cheddar that I used. And then we're going to add a little bit of Worcestershire and English mustard powder. Now we're going to slice us a thick slice of bread that we're going to thoroughly toast before spreading with our cheese and beer mixture, which we've given a few minutes to let cool. We're then going to broil this. And again, messing up a little bit here. The beer that I used made mine come out very, very dark. Yours should come out sort of golden and almost mustard colored. A poached egg on top, some some crispy sausages and bacon on the side, and a steaming mug of lapsang tea, or as I like to call it, barbecue tea, because this stuff is smoky. Clotted cream, jam, and butter flanking the plate, and we're ready to eat. Now, my Welsh Rabbit might not look totally correct, but it tasted really good. If you want to see a better iteration of this, go check out Lindsay Daly's video in this episode's description. The real pleasure here is fresh clotted cream, fresh jam on a fresh English scone. Sometimes something is so good that when you take your last bite, you just gotta walk off camera. Think about things, take stock of your life. And this breakfast did join the Clean Plate Club because I fasted all day to make sure that I could finish it.